All right, so one of the things that I wanted to do gives Duck a whole new meaning. There is a small bug on the restart, and that's one that I should maybe think about. I need to order the whole buttons. I wanted to check out sloped surfaces. Maybe we play around with that today. Also, I wanted to switch to the new input system. And I don't know how to do that. First things first, let's play some. Start every session with me playing my game. Dang, missed it. I can actually get right to that third one right away. If you done do it right. Yeah, this is the one that my brother Jason immediately nailed, like right away. I was wrong around a yoga dev stream the other day. Yoga dev? Like they're doing game dev or other kinds of dev while also playing yoga, question mark? Whoops. Uh-oh, I fucked that up. Shit. All right. I was trying to get cute. The secret to these little guys is just to jump as soon as you land on them, because you'll get the what do you call it? Uh-oh. Shit. Oh, God. The coyote timer. Doing yoga before transitioning to game dev / Blender work. What in the world? All right. No, I keep on trying to like there's some straight up. Hey, Mr. Snipes, just finished an IRL game of BattleTech. I'm jealous. Man, I keep on trying to do the sneaky, cheesy version of that. Nope. Oh God, and now I'm gonna miss that. I'm cheating. There we go. Because if you do that, you can get enough air to like get right past this whole next part. Whoop. Woo! That's close. Playing Civil War era, and I absolutely wrecked Centurion in 2 turns with your trebuchet. Just head pop him or what? You like the game so far? Excellent. If you run into any troubles, especially on an older machine, I'd be very interested to hear about whatever ails you. Things to do today. I'm gonna add some submixes for audio. Whoops, I freaking missed. I want to add some submixes for audio and then normalize in the game with an effect all of my sound, so I don't have to do that quite as manually. But we'll see. Sometimes these things don't bounce you as nearly as far as other times, and I've been able to figure out what's causing that. 2 MRM-20 launchers on a Gunner 2 pilot plus sand launcher. Oh, Oh, I'm annoyed. Bye, 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 bye. All right, little tippy taps on my little space bar here. Tippy taps, tippy taps, tippy taps. There we go. Boy, I like the sound that the ice makes now. Now removed from it, I think I did a good job. Now removed from it, I think I did a really good job. Actually, what I used, I think it was Wolfie that suggested freezing water on a paper plate, which is what I did. His situation was built for range with a light cross, and I got real close and erased half his mech in one alpha strike. Nice. Yeah, 2 MRM-20s will do some work. One of the advantages of building multiple separate levels or breaking things into visible layers is being able to mess with the overall physics in different areas. Yeah, Butane, that's kind of one of the ideas that I have right now. Oops, I'm going to redo that. One of the ideas that I have right now of once you get to, like, space is lower gravity. And also make it so that makes it so you can't flap as much. Because the air is thinner, right? That is an idea that I have been playing with. Oh, wait, Jesus, every time. Oh, I missed it. I fell. Oh, okay, we're fine. Whee. I feel like I shouldn't have the faceplant there. Up. That timing. Come back. Oh, fine. We're fine. We're fine. Also, the time platforms and the invisible platforms should be different colors. As in the platforms that appear with them. Probably. Oh, right. Okay, well that was some bullshit. Damn it. Oh god. Oh, and I missed that. All right, slalom. Oh god. Oh god. All the way down, huh? Yep. Oh, well, just all the way down. Oh no. All right. Good warm up. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to play around with today is I wanted to play around with the walking speed essentially being different when you it's like, yeah, sure, we can put that there. Hey Satchel, how you doing? I want to play around with the walking speed being different on different slopes, so that those interact a little more as you might expect. Not on different surfaces, no, but that is something that I could consider. Prefibs. All right, so let's temporarily add this fella in here. And make this like some ridiculous. There. Maybe even more, so that I can really play with it. Okay. Right, lore for your D&D campaign. Right on. That's exciting. All right, so the first thing that I need to do is figure out how to measure the angle. Gotta figure out how to measure that angle. So let's do. I've got it looked up here. Oops, caps lock. Slope angle. Slope angle. Vector to that angle. Wouldn't you know it? And then we'll take the regular box cast as the first one, and then vector 2 up. Debug. Hey, Tizo, how you doing? Debug.loggy. Actually, let's do the angle is slope angle. And let's do that and see how that works. So that's the first thing. The first thing we need to do is just get the angle. The angle is 0. Not quite what I wanted, but... that angle's increasing. It's reading out perfectly. What if I lower it? And now it's increasing again. Perfect. Yeah, because once it gets up to this, like you shouldn't be able to run up that. I don't think. You know, you shouldn't be able to run up that. Also, this thing is low enough that it's running into the other collider, so that it's stuck right here, and that's a little funny to me. But should be able to fix that. Yep. All right, so that worked. Cool. Excellent news. We can move this a little bit so that it can actually rotate the whole way. Only a Skyrim horse can run off that slope. All right. Cool. Cool. All right, so how do I want to do this? I think I need a function. I'm also going to need some other variables. Dear duck. Current walk speed is 7. That is the actual walk speed. Okay. So I could change the walk speed. Do I do that in... Do I do that in the update movement function? That's another thing that I want to add too. I'm going to make that a note of that. I want to add an acceleration so it doesn't just go right to that faster speed when you hit shift. So right now it's just a straight multiplier. Which is fine, but it could be better. I don't mind the immediate acceleration on the walk, but I think I need the acceleration on the run. All right. So we could put that in update movement. Hey, ordinary person, how are you? Otherwise, I could have it be a completely separate function. Should it be a function called in update movement? I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. Okay. Let's do this first. Private float. Calculate. Something. Calculate slope difficulty factor. Yep. And that is going to take an angle. Slope angle. So if slope angle is less than or equal to... Had a rough couple months? I'm sorry you've had a rough couple months, ordinary person. I hope it gets better. If it's less than 0, just return 1. No slope. Otherwise, difficulty factor. What's yelling at me right here? Oh, it's right here. I need another variable. I guess this is as good a place as any. Serialized field. Private float. Let's call this one steepest climbable angle. Oh, I'm sorry, ordinary person. Man, I am now like every time I see my parents. You know, very cognizant that I only have so much time with them, you know? All right, see what's going on angle is 60 degrees? Sure. That would be 60 degrees. So then, math if. Hug them hard, yeah, exactly. I did not let go of my mom this morning. She was hugging me, and so then she let go, and I was like, no. I'm not done hugging you yet. Am I clamping this right? And then it can just return that difficulty factor. Yeah. Ba-ba. Oop. What did I just push? Okay. And then that's probably good there. So with that, we can head back up to here. Let's just write it in update for now, and then I can move it later. I think I want it here because I'm using that hit. I think I do want it there. Whatever. All right, so we're going to do... wrap this whole little feller in an if statement. If on the ground. You, come here. Get moved. And then we need slope. Naming variables is the worst part of programming. Slope, difficulty, factor. So if I calculate slope difficulty factor, and I've got difficulty factor. Like calculate slope difficulty factor, and then the variable can be slope. Yeah, that works. And then we're going to calculate long thing. Slope angle. Hey, Jason. Jason, I don't know if you're here before, but sometime today or maybe next time or something, if you want to help with the transferring over to the new input system, the three worst things in programming are naming things and off by one errors. I've not heard that, and that's amazing. And then walk speed. No, because the walk speed. Shit. Because now I'm assigning the walk speed. What I should have, because that's otherwise going to. Hold on. Original walk speed. Sure. We'll figure out that in a second. And then times slope difficulty factor. And then for the sake of doing a little checkaroo, give me 5 minutes here, and I'll be available for about an hour. Literally no rush at all. New dev goes straight into vectors. Caden, don't you judge me. I don't know what I'm doing. Walk on in. The walk speed is Walk speed. Sometimes you need vectors. Don't you judge me. But I saw some I have some. Should I not? Should I not? All right, else package info. Great, nailed it. Else can't type. What in the where?
It seems we have a new fellow.
Hey, thanks for the follow. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah. All right. Else walk speed equals original walk speed. Original walk speed, which I don't have as a variable yet. I do like to bite off more than I can chew. It is true. Are these the same? Original walk speed, original. All right, so then we're going to change this filler up here to original walk speed. Okay, yep, nailed it. And then oh, because now that's not a variable that exists. Bum, 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 bum. Ba-do-do-do-do. I wish I kind of just there. Makes me happier. You too. There. Move all of them. Whatever. All right. La 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 la. All right, that should do it? Question mark? Huh? Maybe. I'll save. See how we did. Ooh. We could maybe tone that down some. Because once we get down to like here, I can't even. That is going to fundamentally change how these pipes work. Wow, dude. Super changes them. Also, Shift Alt F will format your code and align everything nice and automatic. What impact will it have on windmills? Also, will have an impact on windmills. I'll have to check it out. But hold on, I need to check out this. Shift Alt F. Oh, that just undid what I just did. But I did not know that that was a thing. Can I change the rules for that? How will that work on the right side bumper seesaws? Indeed, Swift. I think that needs to be... I think what it already needs to be is... changed quite a bit. Because that's a little too much. Give that deck a sword and he's the Quack Knight in shining armor. All right. Let's check out the. It does make it so you now have to like jump it. Whoop, cripes. Get back up there. Yeah, that's overtuned. Does make it so that you have to jump it. But right now it's a little too hard. Ooh, I was just able to sort of run up that one. Yeah, and right now you just can't even do it. You're just gonna fall off immediately. Which does encourage you to then have to jump, which is sort of what I want, but it's just no double jump. Not that is something that. So instead of a double jump, what I do have is I've got like a sort of a Yoshi like flutter, where you sort of flutter and then you get tired and you face plant. Since that angle mode doesn't differentiate between uphill and downhill, does it? That seems like maybe a problem at the moment. Listen, it's the first time that I did it, okay? Hold on, let's go back to this one that I've got so that it's not going to move on me as much. It does not differentiate between uphill and downhill. Ready to be tagged in? Jason, you're too quick. I'm working on this and it's not working. Hold on, Jason's ready for me. He's ready. Is everybody ready for DK, the DK and Jason show where we teach DK some stuff? Hello.
Hello.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Doing some unitying of my own.
Ooh. You have to give me just a second to comment out everything that I just did because it's all fucked. There. Okay. All right. So we're switching. Oh, hold on. Matt, did you welcome on in, dude? How you doing? It's good to see you. Oh, should I also check the red ones because those are going to sneak up fast. They really are butane. That whole thing needs to change. But I did calculate the slope angle. All right. So, I'm going to have to figure out how to... This whole slope stuff is going to be more complicated than I want it to be. All right. Old input versus new input. How do I new input?
Yep. So, Unity, in their infinite wisdom, tend to make things more complicated than they need to be. But there's about 5 different ways to use the new input system.
All right, great.
And what we'll do is we'll walk it through the basically. Step 1 will be how do you inline replace A to B? Because that'll just sort of get you started. It's not the right way to use it, but it'll like work. Step 2 will be exposing it in the editor to make it a bit fancier, and then step 3 will be like using it the right way, and then you can kind of tweak it from there and whatever. So the first step is just package manager, literally Windows package manager, and then in the Unity package manager, right, input system. And there's only one input system you can download.
Input system. I have it.
You have it installed already. Cool.
I'm just not using it.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good start. Well, that's a beauty. Is you can use one or the other or both. I'm not sure if you've switched over or not. But we can do that. So if you go to any one of your inputs you're using,
If I go to what?
like jump or something, just like a jump, like wherever you're doing a if jump pressed
Oh,
equivalent.
like in my code?
Yeah.
I just typed the word jump. That was stupid. All right. Oh, actually, it's in the buffer. Yeah, here we go.
But you can just write input dot, right? Because it's where all the inputs are actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Right. So the TLDR to start with is if you want to just access the raw buttons, we're not going to do that, but this is the general thing. The old way was input dot get key down, or get button down in this case was like the alias name.
Yep.
But you'd write dot get key down or input dot mouse get mouse down or whatever for the other ones. This one you have to sort of walk your way to it. So the equivalent would be keyboard dot current, and then there's all the keys. So keyboard dot current dot a key dot b key dot x key, whatever. And so if you give that a quick example, so keyboard dot current dot, you can kind of access specific keys that way.
Keyboard.current dot.
Yep. And then you can see A key, B key,
Yeah.
etc. And if you type one of them, like just literally pick any of those. Once you pick one, if you do dot again, you have an option for all the different actions you can sort of query against that key. So they could be, there's a whole lot of nonsense. The only ones you really need to care about is was pressed this frame, was released this frame, and performed, which is their versions of pressed, released, and held. We'll get into why it's all this nonsense later, but literally you can just write was pressed this frame. It should just type there you go. So that is the equivalent action for if space pressed. A bit wordy, but
Is there a way to group them such that I can have something very happy like jump and then have that?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Okay,
this,
all
this
right,
is just sort of
Yeah.
This is just so because this will come up at certain points. You'll be like, how do I access certain things? So I'm
How
just
is this an
demonstrating a couple of
improvement?
steps. You'll see. There
right.
is an improvement.
All right, great.
So the second thing is where it says space key. That's a hard coded value, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to change that in the editor or whatever, you couldn't really do that. But what you can do is you can replace space key with square brackets. So if you delete the middle two dots on the space, so it's current square brackets dot.
Like that?
You can get rid of the dot as well, so it's current square brackets.
Oh.
You could alternatively type a key in there. So the old thing was called key code, which was key code dot space. This is now key dot space or equivalent. So it's that way you can kind of pick a specific one. It's capital K key dot.
Oh. So, okay, so then it's here like that.
Yeah. And so that way, it seems roughly the same thing, but the benefit of this approach is you could expose a public key, the key to press, and then you could, in square brackets here, put keyboard.current key to press, that was pressed this frame, right? So it could be jump key. So now we've moved one layer of abstraction out, so you could expose in the editor a jump key rather than, you know what I mean, specific binding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two steps. The next step after that is all of this stuff is doing is using something called an input action. And an input action is a way for you to basically define a binding that can be rebound. That's kind of where the magic of all of this happens.
Ah, okay.
So as an example, let's go to say above 464. We'll just do it inline as a test.
Sure.
If you just go above that line and write public input action. And then say jump action.
It seems we have a new follower.
Like that would be the same. Like
Yeah,
that?
space and then just jump. It's input action space and then whatever name you want to
Gotcha.
call it. So jump action.
Okay.
And now you can replace all the keyboardy bits and it should just be jump action dot was pressed this frame.
Ah. So then I can change this to jump action.
You can get rid of the whole lot actually because it's not even keyboard because jump action may in fact be a gamepad or it might be and
So then
the whole thing is just
literally
action, yeah.
like jump action was press this frame.
Yep, exactly.
It's the only thing about the was press this frame.
That should be fine.
Is
Press
it-
the dot on jump action. Maybe it has renamed it differently.
was
Yeah, let's press this frame. There we go. Maybe it's a method version of this one because they're insane.
That's-
Oh, round brackets at the end because this is a method group for some reason and not a boolean.
Oh.
So they
So
changed their
then jump
rules.
action was press this frame. Got it.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the equivalent thing. Now, what this does, here's the cool part. This is what makes this particularly nice relative to the other solutions. If you now go back to save this and go back to the editor,
Saving?
the,
Back to the editor.
the inspector.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You might notice your inspector looks a little fancier than it used to before. So go find the script that's on. Oh, did we not make it public? We might not have made the input.
Jump action right here.
public.
Yeah, it's all the way down here. Add
Oh,
binding.
yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, so we can add a binding now. And so what that does is basically lets you say, okay, when the action is performed, we'll do something. In this case, when the action will jump or whatever. But what is the binding? And so you can actually add multiple bindings. You can add bindings to different devices or different whatever. And now this gets really complicated. But at a very basic level, if you just double click that like empty binding you've made, one of the options in the top right will be listen. And that is as it sounds. You can hit the drop down on path, sorry, and then hit. They've really obscured the button with the editor. See, underneath the top left, there's like a weird, like tiny bit of a button in a search box that's sort of obscured. If you hover over the very top left corner, it's like a single sliver. At the top.
But it's you can't even see it. Yeah, listening for input.
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah, if you press the button, it'll then find that, and then you can click that binding, and it'll use that one. And you can obviously like type and search for them as well. You can add modifier keys and whatever. But now this means that it's handled here, right? So it's now a step removed. It's not in the code, it's in the script. But if you were to litter your entire script with these around it, you'd still have a hard time finding or rebinding because you have to rebind multiple scripts. So we can go one step further again and move this out to its own dedicated place in the project, a singular place where all of these bindings happen. But they're all the same thing. They're just this, but like grouped automatically for you.
What's this little T do for me?
That's just showing you that it's text. Like the actual binding is
Yeah.
literally that text, but it's the auto helper thing just makes it nicer to
Sure.
find and search.
Yeah.
And the other benefit of doing it this way too, you'll notice there's interactors and processes. We won't go into detail, but if you just hit the plus, you'll kind of see a sense of what they do. You'll notice there's ones for like normalization or changing scales, or if you just double click space, the actual entry, because you can have multiple.
Oh, the interactions and the
multiple
processors.
bindings.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So what you can see is you can
Clap,
basically do
normalize.
modifications.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really useful for things like, okay, I've bound the key to this particular action, or this angle, or this axis equals this input stick, but I want it to be. I noticed the dead zone on the PlayStation controller is a bit wonkier than the other one, or maybe it's more sensitive, and so what I want to do is modify it by normalizing it in this case, or lowering its weight or something. So that gives you basically provide processing up here, so by the time it gets down to the pressed, it's still in the code, just was pressed. Keeps all of the stuff clean.
And then we also have hold, multi-tap, press, slow tap, tap.
Yeah.
Boy.
Now there's one caveat to using the new input system, which will trip people up. So it is worth knowing this. If you were to run this, it won't work at the moment, and the reason why is the action isn't enabled. A good feature, but not very intuitive, is all input actions are start disabled, because you could have two characters with different input maps and turn them on or off, and you don't want one of them accidentally moving.
Sure.
Or if you
That
jump
makes
to a
sense.
menu, maybe you want to turn off the player entirely. So the same inputs, literally, the space bar will do something in the menu, but not do something on the player. So what you have to do is literally call .enable and .disable on those jump actions. The easiest place to do it is there's literally an on-enable and on-disable function on scripts. So normally what people do is they'll go right into their, like your Ducky script, and just do void on-enable, and then action.enable, void on-disable, action.disable, and then it would work.
Interesting. So yeah, up here.
Yeah, this is another magic function like the others.
Yeah. On enable.
You may even have some already. I'm not sure.
I do not have an on enable. I've got awake, and that's about it. And
The difference is awake fires once for the entire when the thing gets activated before it happens, then start, and then on enable and on disable get refired every time you turn on and off the object.
Yeah. So that we'd want specifically those for this. So that we also want a
So whatever the name of the action was, dot enabled or disabled.
On disable. Okay. And then, all right. So then, boy. So, yeah, there's also on destroy too. I knew that one. Yeah, yeah. But
There's actually a low. There's on became visible, on became invisible. There's a whole load.
oh, really? Oh. Huh. I might be interested in learning more of those, actually. So then, certainly I don't want to have all of these necessarily in my Ducky script. Would it be better to have it broken out into its own script?
Yes. Well, Unity have thought of that and they have a solution for you. So we're going to actually do that next. That's the kind of the real portion. This
Okay.
was just, I just wanted to kind of round trip this so you get the idea. So you can imagine then, of course, like I said, the last step would just be in there writing the action.enable or disable. And then, yeah, so what we'll do is we'll undo this bit. We're not going to do it this way,
Okay.
but just to demonstrate that, because
Yeah.
if you're debugging this and you're wondering what goes wrong, it's just worth remembering the steps. It's always calling thing.performed with various different actions, and that's always using an input action, and that input action is always from a stack of input actions. And so if you can think about it in these sort of micro steps, the debugging will be easier later. So we can so let's jump over to the kind of the real side of this.
Okay.
So the way this really works now is just like we haven't done scriptable object yet, but that's what they use to do this. So you'll kind of see one in action conceptually. Basically, what you can do is you can create an asset in the project that handles this job. So if you go to the actual project itself, at the bottom, the actual files in the project, you can put it wherever you like. I usually create a folder called data or settings or something to kind of separate the bits that I might have to noodle with regularly.
Sure. I'll do settings.
And now you can create an asset called input actions. It'll be in there somewhere. Might be under a specific subfolder. Input actions right at the bottom.
Oh, all the way bottom. There we go. All right. And it's currently called new controls.
You can call it whatever you like. I usually call it something like player controls or player.
I can get behind player controls. Okay.
So now if you double click this,
All right.
you get a whole big fancy complicated looking window.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what this window is it's basically it's not as scary as it looks now that we've covered the kind of the small steps. A map is just like a section of your game. So a map might be player is a good one to start with, so just player. But you might have UI, for example, or whatever. So these are you can just double click it to rename it.
Player.
So what this is basically saying is these maps can be turned on or off or switched to. People will also use maps to be like certain key bindings. Or if you have a vehicle in a game, so you switch to vehicle mode or normal mode,
Sure.
again, it lets you reuse actions, but just like with one word, switch all of the inputs in the whole project. And then actions are, as we've seen, right? So what you do is you declare the names of each of the things you want. So you do a jump or a move or whatever, and then you would provide values under each of those cases.
All right. So then for binding, binding path,
Yep.
keyboard. Oh, why is this so messed up? This tiny little sliver of a.
The whole window was broken. It used to be quite nice. It used to be lower down. The buttons would react nicely, and you could sort stuff. But Unity have had some trouble recently with their own UI.
Can I? So how do I have multiple things on the same action? Like multiple inputs.
Buttons, just add more of those. Hit another plus on the word jump, and you can add another one.
Oh, and just add binding. Oh, okay, there we go.
Yep.
And this one is going to be how do they have them labeled? East? Yeah. Oh my god.
Thankfully, you only have to do this once.
Yeah. So this is going to... Okay, so this is simultaneously really cool and also sort of gross. Where it's just a lot.
It is definitely a lot, and they do not explain a lot of this stuff. And at the start, there was none of the was press this frame or the stuff I showed you earlier. So it was just like you went from input dot to straight to this, and there was no like intermediary. But traditionally, I tell people to go the other way. I say, don't start with this. Just get into the habit of input actioning in your script, and then like we'll get to the complicated bit. But again, we're here. We might as well set it up as we go.
I said east. I actually want that to be south. Oops. Button south. My controller. Oh, my controller's in. Oh, shoot. Okay. And then when derived bindings. Okay, and that does all of those. Great. So I've got a jump. And then I would do another one. So I have to do then left and right and all that business?
Yeah, but they're different actions. Yeah, you go up one, you'd make another action for that, which would be like move. So you can just make one called move, for example, because you can make multi-axis ones. It becomes a vector 2 then, basically. And then if you go back to move, and then at the drop down in the top right, there's different types. The button is the default, but if you hit the on move itself, if you hit the drop down, it gives you different options for switching to axis.
Oh, binding with add binding with 2 modifiers?
Yeah.
Or positive negative binding?
Positive negative will be like a float that goes up and down, and then the modifiers are like shift press or alt shift press.
Okay.
And then, but if you go up, these are like modifying on a single one. But if you press escape and go back up to move, like click the word move.
Action type.
Yeah, and so these will all resolve to a button, but maybe you don't want a button. Maybe you want it to be a number, like in the case of how much has the axis pressed. And what it'll do is, in the case of a keyboard, for example, it'll just be 0 or 1, or it'll like interpolate up to 0 and 1. But if in the case of gamepad, you can have the fidelity of the individual stuff.
Gotcha.
So now when you do the bindings for it, you have more options, because you can basically say, what do I want this to actually be? Is it a vector 2? Is it a whatever else? And so you effectively choose how you want to read it, which now makes more sense for the input action, because right up until now we've just been saying performed, but what you can actually do is say get value, and you can say get vector 2 out of this action, or get float out of this action, or get touch action out of this.
So you're making this an axis?
Yeah.
Okay. So then how does the binding then work? Because then we're looking at A on the keyboard and D on the keyboard, right?
Well, this is where you can do, say, for example, so if you have a float, you can do positives and negatives. Let me see if I can pull up a good, because this will get into the specifics of how to bind these, get a bit funky. So let's see. Let me grab one from one of my other projects.
Sure. Because this is me redoing every bit of input that the game has. Yeah, programmer, we are very, very lucky to have Jason pop in and help and not charge me. For real. Also, hi, Jordo and George Smiley Face. How you guys doing? Welcome on in. Just catching up on chat. And keep coming back. He has not done it once. He's done this a number of times.
Right, opening up a project. Like most things, you can imagine, I don't do this manually all the time, so it's one of those things where I always forget whether it's... I know basically the short answer is we want to get an axis, and so you can pick a vector 2 for the inputs, because again, you could literally do it as there's something called a 4-point axis. So you can effectively do just WASD, but traditionally you kind of want it to be vectors, so you'll get a bit more fidelity in the cases where it's controllers and things.
Okay. So instead of having it be axis, I want a vector 2?
I think I can't remember whether you do it, because they keep changing these things. I think, well, vector 2 would be both axes, but usually you want to have, in this case, move, we only need it to be a single axis.
Yes.
So it'll be axis, and then you want it to be left and right. And so what you can do is add a positive negative to that, which would be your A and D, and then you can add a controller binding for an actual hat on the controller.
So how do we then do?
So I think when you hit the plus, one of them should be a positive negative binding.
Add positive / negative binding. There we go.
Yeah, and so basically one button
all right,
equals
we can
forward,
get rid of this
one
guy
button
then.
equals back.
All right,
Yeah.
so negative path. Oh god, a keyboard. Composite part. Got it. And then path. It is nice that it defaults to listening.
Yeah.
So then I also want this to have which side wins? That's interesting.
I think that's for rounding, right? Whether it's if you're at the like near the center and it's 0.5, which way does it lean to?
Yeah. So then I also want it to work on gamepad. How do I add that to that as well? Just do another.
So for gamepad, yeah, you can add another one, and instead of being a multi, you can just do a binding, and then when you select gamepad, it's an axis, so it'll be like a instead of, because it's a composite, is when it's multiple inputs, but for a gamepad, you can literally assign directly to. They called it hat on the controller back in the day, but it's basically you can bind to a specific directional axis forward and back. So there should be, like, for example, so that's they're the 4 D-pad values, but one of them is the trigger. For example, you can just literally say left stick, and it'll be like the left stick pressed and released.
Yeah, so it's left stick, left and right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And actually, so long as we're here,
And you can even see there what it's kind of telling you what the bindings will map to for devices and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's got a debugger as well, which is quite nice. So you can see all the devices plugged in and what they're bound to. And then later on, you can get slightly fancier, and there's different maps. You'll notice in the top left, we won't do it here, but there's an option there that says no control scheme. You can literally define control schemes as controlled by keyboard, controlled by gamepad, because you might have like keyboard and mouse or just gamepad or whatever. And then you can then have certain actions only active when that particular control scheme on that particular map is running those particular actions. It's also useful for things like multiplayer games, right, where you might have multiple running, but they're different control schemes. So
Sure.
2 people could be playing, but yeah, so it has a lot of features.
goodness. Okay. Question from chat: is this stuff easily changeable based on input in game? As in
Easily, no. Changeable, yes.
Oh, great.
The short answer is once you're done with all of this, it basically turns into a giant XML file. And you can kind of see if you literally open the player actions thing, it's a big old file of bindings. And just like the T you did where it had like action gamepad / whatever, that's all it's doing. It's basically saying action this, keyword this, values of up and down, whatever changes you've made, and then it builds that effectively. And so if you wanted to modify those values, what you have to do is change those text. And so there's certain things you'd have to write in where you'd basically there's demo projects you can find. There's one called the Viking project, which is an old project Unity made to demonstrate this, where it is a rebindable little demo game. You can download it, look at the source code, and effectively it does exactly that. It lets you go to the menu, select remapping, pick a key, press button. It shows a prompt and says, please press button. And just like the listen, it does that, binds it, and then saves it. So all of it's doable, but the functional process is that you have to design your own UI for it. You have to fire the events, you have to wait for the input, you have to get it back, modify the thing, and then save the new asset and load that one up next time. So I don't think anyone's made a friendlier version of that yet. There might be on the asset store. Somebody could have wrapped all of that in something, but yeah. Either way, the short answer, I guess, with all of this is if you were using the old input system, rebinding isn't even really that much of an option. It's a lot. You have to like manually write each and every binding yourself. With this, there is a place. It might be a mess, but there is a place to do it, and it's got a dedicated hook for all of these different things. So it's the kind of thing where I would say I wouldn't worry about it till later, but when you do, there are a couple of resources out there, and I'm almost certain someone's done a YouTube video on how to implement it.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. So I've got run put in here. I've got move. I've got jump. I think that's all the controls.
So a couple of things to note here. One is it's got a little asterisk in the top left. You'll notice it's got a little round bracket star in the top corner. That means
Yes.
it's not saved. So
Ah,
you will have to
save
press
asset.
the save asset button. Yeah.
Done. Oh, it also says no control schemes. Add control scheme? Or is that like
Yeah,
for
so
differentiate, sort of like you're saying, where if there's like a vehicle one and
Well, this is more for devices. So actually, a good example of this. So if you can make a control scheme there, you can
Sure.
use one called keyboard, for example.
keyboard. Whoops. Caps lock. Uh-huh. And then oh.
Yeah, and then you'll notice when you now look at each of these actions, if you click on each of the individual bindings, it says, "Oh, they are
Using
available
control
to
scheme.
all."
Oh.
Exactly, but now you can switch it. So traditionally, of course, what you'd want to do is define keyboard and gamepad, and then assign the keyboard keys to the keyboard keys and the gamepad to the gamepad. And then the idea would be that you could avoid those weird issues where if someone presses a key on the keyboard while playing with the gamepad, it causes weird behavior.
Sure.
And so later on, you can do things like say, "Oh, we are currently in gamepad mode." But someone pressed the keyboard key. Do I want to switch the map or not, or so on? So again, it's not there's not like a definition of how you should use it. It's just more of here is more things you could possibly play with
Sure,
if you want
yeah.
more choices yourself.
Okay, so we also have gamepad options. Oh, and then it hides
Yeah.
all of the ones that I've already. Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
And the other part of it too that's quite nice is say you've got a 4-player couch co-op game and you've got even if you because sometimes you'll have like 2 controllers on the same keyboard.
Yeah.
So you might make a map called WASD player and then
Sure,
JKL
yeah, yeah.
player or arrow player, and it would be 2 maps that both use keyboard, but conceptually they're like toggleable as separate, which lets you then control multiple players. And then as you saw, you can set it as required or optional, which basically says like will it work with both, or do you like literally have to put one in, which again does things like if the gamepad gets disconnected, you can listen for that event and go, there are no active controllers, pause the game automatically. Just all of those like little features.
Okay. Done.
Right. So you've now got this asset binding, and there's 2 ways to use
Let's
this.
say it again.
The first thing is just just to kind of we'll get around to it afterwards. But if you hit the checkbox in the top right corner that says generate C# class. Oh, in the inspector itself.
Oh,
You click
yeah,
the
yeah.
asset
Generate
that
C#
shows up,
class.
Yeah, so you click that and hit apply. This does a fancy bit of code generation for you, and it basically takes all
Nice.
of the bindings you've done, and rather than having to get it by, because now it's like, for lack of a
Okay,
better
so
word,
I can
on
do.
the-
So actually, that's you know what? That's a nice little thing that they have where you can do this without having to go and code it by hand, where you can
yeah,
go through this and then click generate the C# file.
exactly, yeah, because alternatively you'd have to go in and actually say like, on map this, on action this, if pressed, so on. You'd have to kind of dig down through it. One other thing I'll touch on, which
I want to look at it.
technically you don't, yeah, it's very, this is what I was saying about it basically being a giant dictionary of stuff, right? And it's not, it's messy looking, but again, it is really just like that's the actual file. So this is what I mean about it. If you wanted to rebind it, you can kind of get a sense of what rebinding would mean. You would just swap paths. It says gamepad button or keypad, whatever. So all of it just becomes rebinding those and then effectively reapplying your new action map. The benefit of this, of course, is that these are just files that can be loaded and unloaded like a save file. So you could have people save out their own ones. You could do all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't have to do that manually. All right.
So that's one option. The other one is there's actually a dedicated class called player input. And player input handles a lot of the extra layers on top of all of this for you. It's not perfect, but it's a little bit nicer for kind of the way I imagine you'll be using it. You don't, like technically you don't even need the generated code. You only need the generated code for if you want to kind of play with it a bit more yourself. The simpler version is, so if you go to your duck, for example.
Into my script.
Oh no, I mean in the hit it, click it in
Oh,
the
and
hierarchy.
and duck it. Uh-huh.
So there's a Unity script called player input, like literally just player input. And you can add it to this
add
object.
component. Oh, player input. There's also player input manager.
I don't know that one. I think that's an older one.
Okay. Player input.
So what player input does is it basically lets you just provide the camera for which UI clicks should come through, the action map to use for actions, and then here you can basically hook up all your bindings. So if you hit the circle on the right, it'll let you pick your action map. And it actually probably pointed to the default one as well.
Player controller.
Yeah.
Player controls input action asset.
Yeah. So what that's done now is basically said,
Default
okay,
scheme.
so we have actions. We know what to do. We're going to default to this one. The default map is player, and then the UI. That's only necessary if you want to like receive clicks to the UI and handle again switching. For example, you might want to say when in UI, don't receive inputs or whatever. And then the important one is the last one, behavior. So what we've established is we've done all these bindings, and these bindings are firing events. And the question is, how do we want to listen to these events? There's a whole load of ways to do it. SendMesh is a kind of older Unity paradigm. Don't recommend using it. The one that's probably the most straightforward is invoke Unity events. That one will be very declarative as to what you're trying to do, and also gets back to what I was kind of saying a long time ago, which is if you expand the event section, you'll actually get nice, friendly named actions for each thing you've exposed. So you got player there, you can actually expand that, and every action you have defined will show up.
Oh, there we go. All the lists are currently empty.
Yeah, and so what this is without doing all the other stuff, the simplest solution is you create a function just called void jump or whatever, and you can literally drag it into here, into the event, like you would any other event. And have you used this before, Unity events?
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's if you don't want to do code at all, you can just basically bind to your actions. With the one caveat being, you'll notice it says here callback context in the middle of the brackets. That is like the handle to it, and you need that if you're doing something fancier than say jump. So for move, you want to get the value out. So you would make a function called like on move, and you bind to the on move, and then in callback context you would have a handle to that move event, and you could say get float or get vector, and you would get out the value that actually happened as a result of that. So binding to the more advanced stuff is using the callback context. Without getting too into the weeds, I don't actually use any of this.
Okay, great.
But the question becomes like, I think this might be the better approach for you to use it, because the alternative is a lot of writing your own stuff. But this is like very declaratively you write the thing, press save. You don't actually need the save. You need save, but you don't need the rebuild code. And anything you modify there will automatically show up as events here. And then from here, all you need to do is expose public functions on your objects that you can bind to. It's probably the easiest use case for you, right? Because now every action is just available.
So I would want to create a function.
So whatever action you need, I would pick a naming convention. Like I use the word performed, for example. So I would say perform jump, perform move, perform run, or so on.
Okay.
And I would just expose those as like, these are the things that need to be done. Which is a fun side effect, by the way, which is that you can create AI characters very easily by having them generate fake inputs and hand them to your actors, right? So now you can actually, there's lots of other fun side effects to that. So here you would basically do as if button pressed, if jump pressed, right? You'd basically put whatever code happens on a jump press here instead.
So how do I actually call that? I don't even.
So in the brackets, put in the callback context.
What do you mean by the callback context?
So yeah, in 473 in the row brackets, you can write callback context.
Oh, up here. Callback context? Context callback?
Whatever the one it said in the script inspector thing a second ago. I don't think it's that one.
Callback,
whatever was in the
callback
brackets.
context. Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
one,
nope.
yeah.
So that's backwards.
Not confusing at all.
No, because it's yelling at me for that.
You might have to actually click on it and import the using statement for, you're missing the using statement. So if you hit the little
Quick
the
fix.
light bulb, it should give you an option to import that. Yeah, using import action. There you go. The top one.
The top one?
Or actually, the second one. Second one's fine.
Oh.
They're both fine. Yeah. Cool. So now you need a name. So callback context space context. So now you've basically got a handle for that action having been performed. So you can write context dot, and you have access to all the various context related stuff. And so the default is performed, but there's all the other stuff. So you can like read value, read as button, read as thing, or you can even do things like if you can check phase, for example.
I can check
and
that.
see is it down, is it? So performed will do for press. That's your default for press. But for example, if you write dot phase, and you can say space and then double equals. There's a whole bunch of like disabled, waiting, started, cancel. So it basically the entire life cycle of the action can be sort of subscribed to.
Okay, wow.
Which can be useful for more advanced stuff, right? Like when you get into things like if your input's not working correctly and you want to make sure that on this action being finished at the exact moment it finishes, do something else or clear a certain flag, you can kind of add multiple different actions here. The important one though for you in 99% of cases is just dot performed. It's the equivalent of pressed. The reason it's called performed and not pressed is because maybe in the case of a trigger, maybe you want a trigger which is a value of 0 to 1 to be performed when it gets to 75% of access.
Sure.
And so you would write that in the binding file, not here, and then you could always check to read the value gradient, but performed will only fire at the defined version in the file, which lets you then tweak the like actuation points for stuff.
Got it.
So as a general rule, you want to avoid the language. So we've already avoided the language of keys. We're now talking in terms of actions, which is one separation. And next, you want to avoid the language of presses and releases, and now you want to think in terms of performs and cancels. And then beyond that point, it sort of tweaks all of the detailed. So general TLDR, context.performed lets you handle that. And you can get rid of the phase. The phase was just a way to do it, but the simpler way is just dot performed. And I am pretty sure the was pressed this frame and was released this frame might be here too. I always forget which they've extended onto. So, but performed is the 99% of the time thing you mean.
So then,
so that's exactly the same line now in as if for 87, with one added benefit too, which is previously even in the name defines it as update. You were updating jump buffer. So what you were doing was polling. You were basically saying, was a button pressed, was a button pressed, was a button pressed consistently, and you're dependent on the frame rate. What this is it's action based. So the reason it's kind of slightly more confusing that it's not in a single update anymore, but it's in its own separate place, is because the benefit is it happens when the button presses. It's responsive to the action, not to the polling.
Sure, rather than it continually checking.
Exactly, yeah. So it leads to a bit more clunky setup. You do have to sort of make performs for each of the things you want.
Yeah.
Again, the way I do it's slightly different. I take all inputs in one and I parse them and write
super.
my own code and do a whole big dictionary map thing. But it's like we're definitely not doing that. That's too much. So I think this is about as complicated as you need. The one last thing to note is to get back your float value, the equivalent of get access, is just context.getValue. So there's exactly the same thing, but you would just say float the value equals context dot and then get value, and you would get value float or get value vector to whatever you've assigned it to in the other one.
So okay. So how
I know I'm throwing a lot
at it's just so sideways from how I had been thinking of it previously.
Well, do you see now why I also said at a very simple level you could start with just putting the binding exposed on the scripts and just do a if key was was pressed this frame.
Yeah.
So I gave you two other outs if this does get a bit too much.
No, I think this is how I want to do it. It's just more than I thought it was going to be is what it comes down to actually. So with that then.
Well, whatever you do, don't look at the new input system, the new UI system then, because that's even more.
I did look at that and play around and was like, I'm good for now. That's a future Derek problem. So, okay. So how do I? So I've got my jump buffer, right? How do I then do my jump buffer with this new?
You know what? Actually,
Mm-hmm.
let's do one other thing because you may prefer. There's one other way to do it, which you may prefer.
Okay.
That's using the because we're not using our generated code, by the way. That generate button we did, we're not actually using it right
Yeah.
now. That's a different thing. You may find that one easier. So let's do that as an option. So the way that one works is you basically just create an instance of it. So if you go to the top of your file,
Yep.
and you literally just make a variable called the same name as the generated file. So we called it, what is it, player controls?
What a good question. Player controls, yes.
Now it won't show up in the inspector. So this is just a thing we make for ourselves. So you just want to write somewhere public player control. It doesn't even believe it's public. It needs to be player controls.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the awake, you want to set controls equals new player controls.
Like so.
And the one nice thing about this is because it's all bound into one player. Oh, you need round brackets at the end of
Yeah.
player controls. And the one nice thing about this is, unlike individual bindings, player controls is a bucket of all of them. So you still need to do the on enable and disable, but you only have to do it once. So you can do all controls on enable, all controls on disable. So you can do that here. Just literally controls on enable, controls on disable.
Is that a function? Yep. Like so.
So now what we can do, this might be easier because you can actually inline this rather than having to switch to the event version of stuff. If you go down now to where your original your jump was.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do is we will remove our perform jump thing. We'll get rid of that for now.
Okay.
And then instead of input that get button down, you can then kind of inspect into the controls. So you can say controls dot, and it'll have a hard-coded name for each value you have added in your file. So player, for example. So controls dot player dot, and then any action you performed,
Jump. Sure.
jump dot, and then same thing. Was, you know, you can say performed is the go-to,
Was-
but you can check
Was
the others.
performed this frame?
Yeah,
And then that is then no function. Okay.
they're inconsistent with whether or not it's a function.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that is now the replacement line, and you can do that with any other thing, except with the one difference, of course, like I said, if it gets to like player.move.get value, and in angle brackets you would define the value you want to get.
Okay,
So this is probably the best. This is probably the best halfway house version.
Okay.
This does
that's-
everything you need.
This I understand perfectly.
Yeah, well, the only, I want to say, downside with this is it doesn't auto handle action map swapping now. So the thing is, if you had another script that wanted to access controls, you basically redo the same thing. You would say create new player controls there, enable it and disable it, do stuff, but the two will run independently, which means that you're likely to have one event happen over another, which means you have to manually decide to say disable the other ones if I'm doing these ones.
Gotcha.
The
And-
advantage of the player input one is it handles all of that as like one bundle. We'll do all the map swapping for you, all of the disabling and enabling other ones, and a bunch of other niceties.
Gotcha.
But again, you don't need that. Like literally, especially for a game with one character, it's considerably easier because you're not switching modes. You're not doing the only mode switch you'll have is UI stuff, and even that you can literally just have a on UI shown. Duck that stop moving, and all it calls is in controls dot disable. Like it could be as simple as that, you know.
So now it's controls dot move.
So you'd have to walk down through again. So dot
Oh,
player,
player,
dot
player,
whatever
player,
the-
player. Yeah. Dot move. And then
And now it's get value.
Get
and whatever
parameter value?
type. Now the cool thing is if it's bound to say an axis and performed, like I said, it will trigger at like 1 or 0. So if it's a single action on it, but if you want the literal value, There should just be get value, unless I've changed the name on me again.
Nope, it's parameter value is what it.
Oh, well, again, I don't do it this way, so I don't know the.
No, that's right. That's right.
If you hover over that, what type is it? Does it automatically know the? So it is a method group. So you'll need the round brackets. No, see that's specifically getting a named binding, so it's not that one.
Okay.
Maybe it's just move that value. Maybe they've simplified it because again, this is a generated file, so they might actually have a helper function I'm not aware of. Because if they have perform, they might have dot value or some equivalent.
Read value.
Oh, read value. There you go. That's the one.
And then that had.
In angle brackets, the type that you're reading, so float or vector 2. Yeah, that's 100% the one.
And then
round brackets at the end because it's a method group. So there's the two now. That's 100% the two you need. You need the read value, float or vector 2, and then you need the performed. And with those two, you can do pretty much everything you would need. And you can see now, even on line 413, your like shift keys and stuff. Now you can just handle that with whatever a single action, and then that action can be bound to modifier and or so on. You know.
I'll just count that out for now.
So some of that stuff might require rethinking in terms of how you'd approach it, but yeah.
So now we've got round. So that this is then controls dot player dot run dot get. Nope. What is it? Shit. Was performed this frame. So is performed is that if you hold it, that's fine?
So pressed is so when it's literally down, it's pressed. When it's up, it's released. And whenever that button is considered to be activated, it's performed. So for example, maybe jump is actually maybe I have an action called double jump. Not just jump, but an action called jump and a separate action called double jump. And double jump is only quote unquote performed when I jump twice. When I press it twice quickly.
Yeah.
And so pressed would fire when the button is pressed, but performed would fire when I've pressed, released, pressed at a certain interval. And you can then tweak the interval durations and stuff in that file. So performed is whatever, because all of those modifiers we showed, the mutators and value changes. Performed is after all of those have evaluated, is it performed or not? You know.
Copy. Okay, and then so I've got one other thing that is going to be. Did I move that yet, or did I think about moving it? I did move it.
I will say though, you this will be confusing for a while, and on top of that, you're likely to get into head scratching issues where, like, performed is a single press in a lot of cases because that's usually a button press, but you might want a value like held for sprint or something, and so you might get yourself tied up in knots with some of those. So it is worth maybe looking at a couple of YouTube videos that will kind of specifically talk about the cases and
duly noted. Yeah, because that's one thing that I want to add is having an actual acceleration instead of having it just be a modifier to suddenly be able to run that fast.
I will say, like, my thing, what I do specifically for things like camera movements and whatever, is I almost always defer to get value because I like, from a coding perspective, of having control over what is the 0 to 1 value of the axis. Theoretically, you can do all of that stuff in the input action, and it probably makes more sense when you get to bindings again, because you can have players like modify their own dead zones and whatever. But even for myself, I'm just like 90% of the time, give me the float, I'll play with it myself. It's usually enough to do what I need.
All right, controls.player.jump was performed this frame. Copy.
Yeah, and then there's was released this frame or
search
is held as well, I think, or down.
Well, I've got the can input. Dang it. Search jump parentheses jump, and then I can that's just a 1-for-1 paste in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
given that we're doing it this way, you can actually remove the player input class from the duck as well. You won't be using that.
Okay.
You're checking the, the jump in a lot of places. I usually recommend just checking it once at the top rather than multiple times.
Yeah, well, so because of how I have the float working, and then also the that can be removed too. How I have the float mechanics working, where if they're pressed and you're in the air, then it counts up.
Oh no, you still like I totally get like needing to check the quote unquote flag multiple times. But what I mean is like getting the value. Traditionally what you want to do is say have in your update the first line be update inputs, and then get all the inputs and assign them to booleans. Jumped is equal to blah, 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 was boolean press jump this frame, blah, 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 and whatever. And then later on you can just refer to the jumped flag. Because the difference is if you're writing get was jump press this frame, get was jump press this frame, you're doing like a bunch of lookups to find that every time you request the same statement, but you only need the value once, right? So conceptually at the very top you can just say jumped equals this and then reference jumped going forward, and that's the same principle with awake and all the other stuff. In general, get components and all these other actions, it's very easy to kind of just copy and paste them, but you sort of after a while start to realize that these are all doing work, quote unquote. They're all looking up stuff, checking databases and dictionaries and various things. And so whenever you're doing a get of any kind of value, it's usually a good idea to just do it at least only just once the frame, and then you can use it past that point.
Should I have that then as a member variable or a local variable to the update function?
I usually put it as a member to the class because, again, other things may need it. And every frame it'll update, so you can kind of say, in this frame is jump currently pressed, and you need to kind of check that once.
I'm gonna...
Again, though, these aren't mandatory. These are just general quality of life, good advice for later kind of things.
Do that now. So then we've got...
Another side effect of doing it this way is it gets around that weird issue with the fixed update having a lower tick rate we talked about, because if you grab your inputs in the update, you can always just refer to if jumped in the fixed update and know it's accurate because it's not being populated in fixed update, it's just being referenced as a pre-calculated value.
How do I do that then with my axis? Well, I guess I could just
flow chances or vector to whichever value.
I guess it's a float.
The reason I'm kind of flip-flopping is basically the way it works is if it's a single axis like a trigger, it's traditionally a float. If it's a binary or if it's a dual axis like minus and forward, you kind of usually want to have the two. So if it's just the x-axis, it would be a float. If you want the x and y as the movement from the player, you might make the vector 2 out of it.
Yeah, right now it's just the x-axis.
Yeah, because for example, I would use vector 2 for the right analog stick for orbiting a camera, but I would use the float for forward and back in certain cases for different things.
Okay. And I guess those are what I have for now. So then, probably first thing in this.
Yeah, so I literally just make a function called update inputs. That way I can kind of just say, right, here's the place where I do that once, and I can not think about it.
Just have some patience, Super. All right, so then we got jumps equals... Oh, shit, I didn't copy the... What is it? Controls dot player dot... jump? Yep. Like that. Running. And then for that, we actually want the axis. And how do we...
So read value for that one.
Read value. Oh, yeah. And then angly brackets, float. Like that. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Yep. And again, small note. It's entirely probably good practice to use the was performed or was, because it has the other two. Like I said, it has released or has whatever. Because you'll need that. Like if you just do, just as an example, do jump dot, delete the dot again, and it kind of gives you the autocomplete back, and just type was, and you'll see the other was function.
Yeah. Yeah, was pressed, was released. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just as a note, they are there as options. And but for now, you can literally dot perform does the same thing as was performed this frame.
Okay, and then I'm going to break this out into its own function, I think.
A little tip for that too: if you just drag over all of them and hit the little light bulb, it'll give you an option to extract method.
Oh, really?
I actually do it with
Extract
Shift
method?
RM. Yeah.
What? Literally never knew that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, these kinds of things become very common once you're doing a million of these very quickly. Yeah. So you can just rename it there, and it'll auto rename.
Update. Oh, why are you? Update inputs. What? No.
I don't know the visual code version of that, so.
There. Oops. Do it again. Capitals. Neat.
And those ones are worth kind of learning the shortcuts for, because usually you can sort of group highlight and jump around. Other ones I personally use, again, I don't know if they're exactly the same here. I use Control MM. It shrinks all the functions, so it like does a little arrow close, makes it very easy to navigate around. And then Control MO opens them, and yeah, there's it.
Oh, that is not the same thing here.
So what I recommend doing is that you can find the cheat sheet maps online, and a fun little thing to do is pick one shortcut each like 2 days. You don't have to do it very often, but just do like, I often have to get to top and bottom of file, so what is a shortcut for that, or how do I move around thing? Sort of pick one of them and sort of
All right, so now I got to go through and break out what I've got already. So that's just going to be equal to move axis.
Yeah, I agree, super. I personally, I do not like using VS Code because it just feels so clunky. I know it's like faster than the other IDEs, but honestly, I go for two extremes. If I want just text plain editing, I'll use NeoVim. If I want to do fancy big editor stuff, I'll use Writer. I just find I have VS Code and I use it as a glorified text editor. It's also got a really good Postman replacement, so there's a bunch of other plugins. But for this kind of coding, I really hate it. It just feels, I don't want to say half-baked, but it just doesn't have some of the niceties of other editors.
And that makes this, so it's literally just jumped, which is great.
Yeah, right? So it makes it a bit nicer too. And also, if you do change your mind on how something works, you have one place to do it too.
100%.
Now, I'll just caveat this out. I want to set expectations. This won't work as expected when you press play. It will probably break, and probably because something will be a press when it means to be a hold, or a binding is a float and not a vector or something. There'll be a bit of debugging to get this back to the state where you want it to be, but once it's done,
it'll be cleaner, for sure.
Yeah. For character controllers as well, just a general bit of advice is oftentimes you need to be aware of the different states. So as clunky as it seems, sometimes I'll literally save the same thing twice, where I will save jump released and jump pressed, because I may want to query against both of those separately. So again, mileage may vary, but I'll often what I actually do is I create a struct object, so a separate class effectively, and I put all of my input values into that from a different script. So I have a script called input getter, and it just does a whole lot of stuff and builds a file that's just a bucket of booleans and floats. And then
And then what? And then what? Did we lose you? message, Jason? Oh, he's still on the channel. I don't know. Okay. Trying to figure out if I want this to be jumped or because jump sounds like it's. Might change it to jump input. Might change it to jump input. Nope, not one.
Am I back?
Oh, hey, there he is.
Internet died.
You're good. I'm making some small changes. There. There. I'm gonna have all of my inputs actually have the word input in them. Okay. So assuredly things are gonna get weird.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
The usual one for me is pressed versus held. You're like, why is he not actually doing an action? It might be that he's doing the action, but he's doing it the once, as opposed to the like, I
Sure.
originally meant this to be a held.
Yeah, but I'm already using is jumping as a variable right now, which I could change, but all right. So should we give it a shot?
Sure.
All right.
Don't forget to remove the player input on the dock.
Oh yeah. Wait, what?
The script, sorry. The in the inspector there was the player input script we added.
Oh yeah, I think I already got that one.
Cool. There's also under the debugger window in Unity, there's one called input debugger that you can sort of dock, and it'll show you all of the buttons, all of the actions, whether the action is qualified as performed or not, and it's a good way to sort of keep an eye on whether the inputs are acting as you expect.
Say that whole thing one more time.
So there's a under window, there's window debug and then input debugger, I think. But basically there's a window in Unity that lets you view all of the input actions live as they are currently
Neat.
pressed
Let's
or
do
released
that.
or held.
Input debugger.
Yep. And so
That's part
what you
you
can do
do
is
for now.
you can you can basically see when it starts up, you'll see player, and then you'll see player and all the different actions. You can sort of expand out and look at what the values are.
Excellent. I'm gonna change these one more time because this jump. Oh boy. Is jump pressed? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, from a code naming convention perspective, there's a great book called Clean Code, which talks specifically about this kind of thing. Because well, you were joking about it, but it is genuinely a hard problem for programmers to figure out how to name things. And
Yeah.
so there's been a lot of debate around it, and there's various different books and guides, and effectively there's no standard rules, but the general philosophy is people tend to roughly agree from a at least naming perspective on some conventions, and that's outlined in that book. Is a good one for any, because the reason for the is
If it's a bool,
is
right?
that
Like
it's because it's used predominantly in if statements. So you're literally making a statement of if
Yeah.
blank is true,
and then it
if
reads like
thing has
regular
happened.
language. Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a famous programmer called Grady Boosh who said, "Well-written code should read like prose," and that some comes up to that sort of philosophy.
Yeah. I like it. We can move left and right. We can jump, kind of. Hey, what do you know? He's right. Things are fucked. So my my short jump script is messed up.
Well, you did comment out a whole section with sprint running, so that could be that portion as well.
Oh, let's check out that too. Yeah. that seems to be working fine.
Well, part of it is that you're currently using both input systems, so I think you're still, in some cases, might be using some of the older one as well.
I think I got them all.
Okay.
It really is nimble. All right, so
I think every programmer in their career has at least some horror story. In my case, it was working on a live SQL database for a bank, and I pressed the wrong button. I wrote. If people not familiar with SQL, SQL is a language you use for database queries, and so you effectively query into the entire actual data the bank uses. So select star from people will list all people, or select name from people will list all people. Delete, you say delete from people where ID equals blank. If you accidentally forget the where thing equals blank, or it's commented out or spaced, and you just wrote delete star from people, you can see where that goes, right? And so I think every programmer has at some point done a mass delete by accidentally doing something and freaking out. And a lot of that is not recoverable unless you've got nightly backups and whatever. So yeah, I've had my own fair share of literally just doing lots of tests really fast and accidentally pressing one thing and borking a big system.
So I'm going to add a isJump released. And then we're going to go to here. There's definitely going to be even more that I have to mess with. Because there's definitely instances where I'm like, there we go. Oh, and now I can't flap at all. But I've got full jump movement now. And if and so now I can do my little jumps and my full jump. Perfect. Okay. So my flapping's not working at all. What it's looking for is jump pressed. Should there be an is jump held?
Yeah, that's one of the options. I forgot which one. This is one of the keywords. I think it's value. I can't remember. Yeah, I always get them because again, it's performed, and there's something else just called. It's not held. They have another different name for it.
Well, let's find out. Controls. Layer, jump. Yes, it's got pressed, released, and performed.
Well, it's not these frames. There's other ones too, like just dot performed. There's like flags, effectively. There's also phase. You can always check phase, which will tell you where it is.
Oh boy. You know how to debug effectively in Unity? What do you mean, super? Oh, like having them connected? I now have them so that I can connect the two of them and put stops and whatnot. I got that figured out. Okay, so oh, change
Yeah, one of them
binding.
is-
That's literally
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think yeah. There is definitely one for. Yeah, well, phase is always the backup. You can literally always triggered. That's the one I was looking for. Triggered. Triggered is it? Just dot triggered is like is being triggered presently. That's again. So that's effectively held.
oh, okay.
They don't have a is held, unfortunately. They only have the.
What the heck? And that is not a function. That is just a
No.
bool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, again, going back to the convention stuff, if you're familiar with them, it becomes a bit easier. For example, what bothers me there is they're using lowercase for fields, but yeah, it's Unity are 100% not intuitive as to they're not following their own conventions. Sometimes it's properties, sometimes it's accessors, and I will say this is why I literally write my own what are called extension methods, where I expand on the objects, and so I write my own dot was pressed, was held, and so it actually looks more like the old one, but you have to write your own layer on top of it.
Gotcha. So then instead of is jump pressed, we're gonna do is jump held here, and that should fix it? Question mark. And that is going to be. This is going to be released. And then this is
One other thing too, actually, while we're here, just something else, probably not as useful here, but it is worth doing for flags you check frequently. So, for example, this statement here, current state equals flapping or current state equals tired. Right?
Yeah.
That's actually one state. Like, what do you really mean by saying both? You kind of mean, say, should.
For these two? Let's go up here. Yeah, I've actually got other ones that I've combined to be their own function, sort of.
Yeah, and so, but this is what I was going to get at is,
Yeah.
yes, you can make your own functions, but there's something called accessors, or there's a way of doing that so it looks like one word, but it's a bit cleaner.
Oh.
So I was thinking if you could pick an example of one of those, basically a compound flag check,
Yeah.
we can turn it and can come up with a name that's like a single should X or is in state, whatever. I can show you how to do that in a sort of cleaner way.
Yeah, so what I've got is this. For if it's falling or if it's.
Oh, perfect. That's a good example. Yeah, so what you can do is if you delete the word return, delete the curly brackets, and delete the round brackets on that one.
Okay.
And then just do the little lambda arrow at the end of state.
My first lambda arrow. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then that works.
That's the same thing. Now, the only difference is now instead of round brackets, you just treat it like is falling state. You don't need to put the round brackets at the end. So that's a nice way of making effectively fake properties on your
didn't know
object.
that was a fucking thing.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Cool. Well, that's really neat. Should I have this one be one line probably? Oh, there we go. Nice. All right.
Yep.
Well, that's great. So that just makes it like it's its own property rather than having it be its own function.
Exactly. But you can't do that if it takes in parameters because then it becomes a method.
Yeah. Right on.
You also, in this case, can't set it because it's what's called a read-only value because obviously it doesn't know what you would want to do by setting it.
Yeah.
You can make set functions do the same thing, but the syntax is slightly different.
Okay. Let's see if I've got the flap down here.
An example of where I would use that a lot would be, say I had my own custom label, like a high score label. Under the hood, I might be writing like textmeshpro.text equals value. And if I wanted to set that, I could call .setValue or I could go directly into it. But what I do is I expose a text on that object. So I could just say iScore.text equals. And it's just a hidden wrapper around that treats the methods as a property.
Gotcha. I'm not able to do my little flap at all right now. Oop, did I just do it? Okay, I did it, and I'm not sure how. Okay. So it should be that if I just hold the button, he should then immediately go into flapping after he's at the apex of his jump. Okay, and so right now I have to press it again. Which is not how I want it to work. Yeah, because I have to wait until he's after the apex and then hit it again.
Yeah, again, that sounds more like a triggered versus pressed type thing, right? Where it's like, whether it's held or just been activated effectively.
Well, I've got to do that too. So right now it has is jump held for that. Or does it? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's not. Oh no, because it goes to that state, right? Oh, and then I've got.
Come on.
Hey, Wolfie. Thank you, or Blackstar, excuse me. Hold on, wait a minute. I just got confused because Wolfie said hi at the same time. Sorry, I'm just hot micing the shit out of you. Wolfie, thank you very much for coming in. And a Blackstar with 65 months. Holy shit. Blackstar. My goodness gracious. Okay. So, how do I get it? All right, flapping code. So right now it's not working off of the hold button. And I've got that as is jump held.
I think there's some cases like a button will be triggered once, but a value is continuously triggered. So there's there's some cases like that, which again, I'm not entirely sure what Unity standards on those are.
I don't know if I've held that. Run that back again. Sorry.
So the language is, it basically uses the words performed, triggered. Like maybe I have those backwards because again, that Unity are performed might be.
Oh, like I should reverse performed and triggered. How I have that?
Yeah. I think yeah. You know what? That's what it is. Performed is. I think performed is meant to be the continuous is being performed, and triggered is the one which says has been performed, following all of the rules.
That makes sense. So let's try that.
Should have just stuck with held. It really bothered.
I'm with you. Nope, it's not.
I'm now realizing though how frustrating it is. For me, I'm thinking I've hidden and wrapped so much of this code that like when it comes to the actual what the default lines are, I don't remember what half of the actual values are.
Yes, right now it's not working on the hold. The tap is working for the jump though.
Sometimes what I like to do is like make an empty script where I do just remember we did the like public input action as for a single action. You could literally just do one of those and print out the values and see which one is doing the thing you expect it to do, you know? Or you can expand it out in the input debugger and look at whether as you do actions, what is it saying? Is it saying a triggered or held or whatever?
So how do I
You
do
can
that
use
in
that
the
as a
debugger?
guide. If you, on the game, tell it not to expand to maximize.
So if I
Oh yeah, you can put a second hover. Yeah, there you go. That works too. Well, that's simply more just the general keyboard values. What I mean is if you expand out on the input debug core window, you can expand down like the player jump action, and it'll show you all the sub
Oh, look at that.
bindings you've got.
And it just says keyboard space.
So these are the actions. There should be device as well.
Devices, keyboard. Oh, that's probably just was.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry, I don't use this myself, so I'm not
No, you're good.
entirely sure.
That's all right.
But yeah, so my solution when I'm testing this, basically what I was getting at, is I just make a script called check input works. I will give it a single input action, enable and disable it, and then I would just write debug log or flag the performed, triggered, whatever, and I would just play with it and go, when I mess with the controller, what is it doing, and get a sense internally of which values I should use.
Sometimes now it holds on to the movement even after I've let go, like the movement animation, even after. Oh, I know why. It's because it's not hooked up to the same thing yet, I don't think.
Although the chat brings up a good point, the inputs being messed up is certainly adding to the rage game content.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I didn't listen. I never said that I don't like platformers. Just that I'm not good at them. That's different. Okay. Boy, this is really changing. Just so much stuff. All right. So my flap is still broke. But also I've got other input get access for example. So now this is just going to be move access input. And move access input. This is going to be
yeah, I'm looking it up on the side, and one of the pieces of advice is in the case of an option you can try is setting the value type from being button to value, and then you'll the trigger duration will be firing for the duration of the action.
So then on the hold, so right?
I mean, in the map itself, like what type it is, because some of these are defined as buttons, some of these are defined as values.
On the map,
like
itself.
Yeah, the big full screen, where we had the character maps and the schemas and stuff. So even if it's a button, if you set the button jump value type to value, it will trigger when it gets to 1, in other words when it bottoms out, but it will allow the value to retain for the duration. So click the word jump and then switch it from button to value. See button there in the drop down?
There we go. Control type button. Got it.
Yeah. So try saving that and giving it a go. My understanding now is triggered will now trigger for the duration of it being active and not just the single fire, which might fix that sort of release and having to repress it.
Okay, and now I've got to change all of the bools of that to a float, or is it still work as a bool?
Well, it should automatically do both.
Oh, okay. All right, so now am I looking for held or pressed, or how do I have to reconfigure any of this?
I think all of it's fine, except held is. So anytime it says this frame, it'll be, I think, the once anyway. So that might be.
So then I don't want that to be held.
Yeah, so I think that's triggered, and then pressed is performed this frame.
Okay, so now we're reversing those again. Got it. Okay. Cool. We'll get there. Still not working on the hold. Yeah, so if I press it again, then I can get to my flap state. But it's tricky. Boy, it's annoying to try to get. You told me we didn't play your favorite game in Five Body because of the platform? Blackstar, what game?
Certain, if you want to, just to get it working. If you, on that jump button, if you do get value or read value float is greater than 0, it will in fact be, it'll work. It's just not the way it's meant to be.
Oh, yeah, it's not how I want it to work. What's up? What is your question? I don't know. Sometime. Remind me. A Hat in Time? Blackstar, if I put that back on as a redeem option, I would play it. Yeah. I was probably just being a jerk at the time. Okay. Is there a place where you're looking where I could look as well?
I've literally just typed new input system Unity into Google. There's no particular article.
Input system Unity. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were... Input
Although
system 1.70.
I have now realized that this is homework for me because I'm going to have to explain this to other people. So I'm going to teach
You're
myself exactly what this is. So this will be homework for me.
There you go. Okay, so how? All right, so we're still not getting the is held. Maybe that's because of the was performed. This was working fine on the triggered.
I'm finding it funny how many articles from like literally up to maybe 6 months old where people are asking held in Unity. Just isn't it?
Yeah.
It's become an issue.
Featuring a little girl who stitches hats for wicked powers, freely explore giant recent reviews. Yeah, Blackstar, I can check it out.
Yeah, so they're definitely using performed as meaning the one-time evaluation. So triggered is meant to be the action is down effectively. So I'm not sure how we 100% make sure we get it right, but I'm pretty sure that whatever is going to equate to held will be coming from the triggered.
Gotcha. Also, I got to figure something out because right now, when I move to the left, it doesn't trigger my animation, my running, like walking animation. It just slides.
That might be because depending on how you set the bindings, right? It might be -1 to 1, or it might be 0 to 1. So it could be, yeah.
Okay.
Which again can all be done either through normalizations or remappings on the map, or you can do it in code.
All right. Well, the first thing I want to do is get the jump thing figured out. Because ideally, if I just hold it, then that should be sort of what I'm looking at. Okay.
God damn it. So this is saying triggered is only true for the frame in which the action was performed. It'll be true regardless of how many times it's performed. Yeah, so it's pressed. God damn it. They keep changing it.
Wait, so what? Triggered is
Yeah.
pressed? It's the same thing?
Triggered is pressed for a button, apparently. But
Okay.
whether that's the same for trigger is pressed for a value is different.
What's held?
It seems to be read value float greater than 0. That seems to be the general consensus from people who are yeah.
Read value. Like that?
Sure. Yeah, seems to be.
You're like, I don't know, sure. Why not? A little goofy, but if it works, then it works. Hey, let's go. Okay, and that feels fine. Does feel like the strength was added almost. Like it. Interestingly enough.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Is you can, for a game like this, which is very player controlled, it might be fun to be more granular with the press of stuff. Like you can take the 0 to 1 value and use it as a multiplier for weight.
Oh, sure.
And in the case of keyboards and stuff, traditionally it'll automatically assume a 0 to 1 and trigger at the halfway point, but you can switch the activation points on those.
Okay, so it's just my jump looks fine, but my run animation is not reversing.
Yeah, so my guess on that is that it's the binding value for a axis is 0 to 1 and not -1 to 1, which it might have been before for a axis. But a good candidate for this is that's a good example of going back to the asset and actually modifying the value there as it comes into you.
Oh, then the run's not working either. Now that I look at it, I was wrong. It works for like the one frame. I can hear it. Okay. So then, wait, Derek, where's this? Yeah, so I have it as greater than 0. So now it's going to be if fucking forgot how to normalize things.
Mathf.abs will make it
Abs.
irrespective of the.
Thank you. Okay, and then for my move axis, so my is run pressed. Should I do that same read value thing for the hold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's run pressed, right?
It is. Let's change the name. Yeah. All right, now I can turn face left and right, and my run works. Wunderbar. Is that all the controls? Are we back to normal?
It's always satisfying to do a lot of work and you end up where you started.
Yeah, right. There's so much of that.
I will say, if you do want a palette cleanser, I'm absolutely certain you'll pick up scriptable objects in under 10 minutes as like a really quick, and you'll use them everywhere.
I did do a little bit of research on it. I watched a couple of videos about it, the things that were particularly relevant to sort of future projects that I have in mind, because I want to make a card game, which scriptable objects would be very, very good.
Well, a lot of those advice come down to like more complex architecture. I just mean, as a broad strokes, if you want to tweak settings for things like speeds and fall timers and all that kind of stuff, it's usually a good idea to move all of that into one scriptable object, because what you can do is, one, you can edit it without finding it in the hierarchy. There'll just be like a folder called data duck settings, and you can like tweak it, which is really quick and nice. But also, it means you can have multiple versions of them and effectively try different loadouts without having to break everything.
Oh, really?
So I do that for having, that way, like really quickly, you can just have fast duck, heavy duck, and whatever, which could either be used for either different modes or even just for you to go, which game feel do you like? And then you could have players try out different ones. So just for that, I think for a game like this, it'll be very valuable for you, because rather than a specific use case, I think getting into the habit of being aware that like, there are options you can put in a box, reference that box in multiple places, and they're all synchronized, is just a useful tool to have, and you'll probably find more use cases than you think once it's sort of in your toolbox.
Okay. Let's do it.
Cool. So yeah, the way I would start is I just make.
Do I need
somewhere.
the player input like I?
Yeah. No, you don't need that.
I don't need this anymore?
No.
Okay. Get out of here. You bother me. All right. All right.
So the main thing to note is, just like a mono behavior, scriptable object is just a script. And the difference is you say scriptable object instead of mono behavior. That's just the core step one. So what I like to do as a starting point, just make a script, and whenever I have a bundle of settings, anytime I have a bundle of settings for anything, like generic platform, like for example platforms, rather than having multiple different platform configurations, you could have one scriptable object called like teeter-totter settings, and then you could make 3 of those. Each one is an instance with different value sets, and you just drag the appropriate one to the appropriate one. Right now you can like modify those really quickly. So duck settings is a very good example, because there's like a single instance to work with. So basically make a script and call it duck settings, I guess.
All right. That part I can handle. Duck settings. I have Blackstar, absolutely. Yeah. Flood my inbox if need be. All right, I've got duck settings.
Cool. So now if you open that script and basically change the word mono behavior to scriptable object.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can delete the start and the update.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then what I would do is I would take any quote-unquote config values. You can just pick 1 or 2 for now as an example, like speed or jump height or something, and just do public floats here instead.
Sure. I have that little jump speed, which I kind of hate. Because that's serialized. I forget what the actual value is.
I also like to, when I'm doing those back and forth things, I will drag a second window across so I have two columns in my text editor, and it's much easier to
that's the way to
reference
do
back
it,
and
really. 17, yeah. Okay. Starting with 2.
Cool. Okay, so just two things I like to do, because we're going to do it, we'll do it nicely. Above each of these, do the square brackets, but rather than serialized field, I use the range attribute. So square brackets range.
I don't know range.
And then in round brackets after the word range, you can set a min and max. And so you could say min 0, max is 14 or something.
Sure.
And then I add a second one after that. Now, the thing about these square bracket attributes, you can have them as separate square bracket sets, or you can put them inside the same square brackets, which I think is a bit cleaner. So after the round brackets for range, you can do a comma and then write tooltip.
After the round brackets, comma tooltip.
Yep.
Tooltip.
And then similar round brackets. And here you can write a hover description that would appear if someone was to hover this element in the inspector to say, oh, this does this thing, which could be useful for once you get into those weird names of jump, offset, value filter, or whatever names come up later on.
Okay.
Cool. So the first thing to note is it's actually the same for mono behaviors, but it might not be intuitively obvious. Both scriptable objects and mono behaviors don't really exist when you make them. The script doesn't mean anything. The script is a template for how to do something.
Yes.
There's no, you have to literally instantiate is the word, and to do that you create it and it serializes an instance. Unity will do this automatically for you when you drop it into the inspector, but scriptable objects don't do that. There is no quote-unquote instance of this item anywhere in the project. There is only the template of what it might look like had you made one. So you have to allow yourself a means of making it. There's a whole bunch of ways to do it, but the simplest is to actually give yourself a little menu item to say, make one of these, please. And the way to do that is on top of the class, just like you did with decorating the fields, there's a particular decorator to do that. And I'm actually pretty sure it might even do it automatically. If you click the word duck settings, does it show you the little light bulb?
It is not.
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, it's up there.
The top
No,
left.
I lied. Right to your face.
There might be one called create. No,
Generate
no, wrong
constructor?
one.
Okay.
No. This is another example where Ryder's better. It knows this, but this one doesn't.
All
That's
right.
fine.
All right. Listen. This is all I got.
So if you open the square bracket, there is another one of these attributes, and it's called what is it? It's create asset menu, I think.
Create asset menu.
Yes. And then in round brackets, you can provide two things. One is the menu name, which will show up how in the right-click menu does it appear. So if you're in the round brackets, you can write menu name equals.
Mm-hmm.
And in quotes, you define effectively the folder structure. Now, my general advice is to start with a word that's either you, your company, or your project, / exactly, and then whatever the name of your thing is. Perfect. Yeah. So you can, like I would say, project name / or DK name, yeah, / whatever. So what that do, the second word then it becomes the name of the actual the place to find it. So that's fine. So I'd say Ducky settings, for example.
Yeah.
And then the second parameter is the name of the actual file itself when it makes it. So that's the name in the menu. But if you do comma and then do file name, same thing. It'll be what is the default file name. You'll almost always change this, but it's good to have a default.
Ducky settings again, I guess.
Yep. So that's it. That is the entire complexity of setting up a scriptable object. You just need to make sure it's set a scriptable object. It has that attribute. That attribute will be one of those things you'll find yourself copying and pasting a lot because it'll be a while before you memorize it. It took me like probably a month before I actually remembered the exact phrase, but the autocompletes will help you along the way. And that's it. So now that we have the template, you just go back to the project and make in that data folder. That's where I usually put them, but wherever you like, you can now right click and make an instance of it using that menu item.
I've made new ducky settings.
And that's it. You've got a thing with
and
settings.
and then it has sliders with the values that I assigned.
Now the only difference, the only remaining thing, is just like you drag values in the inspector, you just make a public ducky settings, and then call settings.jumpspeed settings. Right, so it's exactly the same now. You just use the values in this rather than using the values in the script.
Okay. Boy, should I go through and do that with all my settings?
That's what I do, because I do think that the freedom of being able to make like loadouts effectively is very nice later.
Yeah.
Again, but even just as an example, if you hook this one up to kind of show, but I think you'll decide for yourself whether or not you want to. In fact, I tend to do it by types of things. So, for example, I might do one that is movement settings, and one of them is camera settings, or so on. Anything that might like by itself change as a configuration.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that also makes it simpler later if you do want to save out things or have the player customize them, or maybe in like a certain level, certain things change, or at a certain height. Like for example, we talked about camera. You could have a scriptable object called camera low, camera medium, camera high, and it has wind settings that are different. And literally, it's the same thing. You just when you get to a certain height, if height greater than whatever, set it to the other scriptable object.
Sure.
So yeah, just in your normal duck script now, you just write public duck settings.
Oh. And that changes those exact same variables?
Well, you'll have to reference them. So if you just start with like you make an instance of that thing in the other script.
Okay, so we're gonna do public duck settings.
Yeah, and then the idea now is rather than using the settings in the script, you defer to the one in the settings. So what I do is I literally delete the ones out of here, and I call settings dot for each of the properties in the duck script.
So instead of serialized field here,
you can just outright delete that line.
Oh, okay.
And then wherever it turns red, you just use settings dot and reference it there instead.
I'm not using that one anymore because I changed it. But here, let's do that. So now that's
settings dot jump speed. Yeah, so that's that, and then that's the last portion of that is just in the inspector, just drag that asset in, or if you click the little dot, it'll show you all the ones available. So now you can hit the little circle. I usually also put these right at the top as like a configuration thing.
Yeah, I feel like I did, but maybe not.
If it's it's not saved. Little circle at the top of the editor.
Oop. Whoops. Under animation for some reason. All the way to the top.
And I missed Super's comment. Yeah, you can literally do slashes to infinity for the most part. You can make as many subfolders as you like. It's how all of the menu items are built. You can do the same thing for the top menu items. You can do the same thing for the right-click menu items. Anywhere where Unity does its own menu, you can do your own with / to just make nested structures. Still not showing up?
It is giving me a compiler error.
Oh, well, yeah, that's why it won't show up then. If it doesn't recompile, it won't show up in the editor.
There we go. Settings.jump speed.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. So there we go. So that's
okay.
basically it. It's all hooked up. There's one other kind of nice trick to this. I don't know if I want to complicate things, but it is probably the use I use most for it. Yeah, I'll show you one last example. It's a bit
That also
left
cleans up
field.
a lot of all this crap too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, I do multiple. I'll put like 3 or 4 of them in, and then if you did, remember we talked about that asset Odin Inspector.
Yeah.
If you did use that, what would happen instead of just showing the line, it would show the line with an arrow that would expand and then show you the properties with the one in line, which is really nice.
That is nice, for sure.
But yeah, so one last example on this, I guess. One trick we can do. Oh yeah. Bulk rename is a good solution. Yeah, so one trick that you can do with this, as a final note, I think. I don't know if you're planning on adding any more obstacle types or anything.
Definitely.
If you come up with a fake one now, even as an example, just the name of something can just be any. Just make a script for it. It's a normal model behavior script. It doesn't have to be in the project or anything. Just like in the project folder, like public class spike ball, whatever you want to call it. Just make a thing.
Sure,
basically.
just a
Yeah, and an appropriate then. Yeah,
spike ball.
cool. And then this is where I think the coolest portion of the scriptable object thing is. You can now copy and paste duck settings, make another one for spike ball settings.
So what am I doing?
So take the duck settings, copy that,
Okay. Copied.
paste it over to spike ball.
Well, it's gonna be.
No, I didn't mean like
Okay,
like at the bottom underneath it. 'Cause
Oh.
it's its own file.
Oh, okay.
Because this is the little hack I use rather than having to like file new every time. What I do is I actually put it at the bottom, and then if you click duck settings and then hit the little light bulb, you should have an option to say move to own file.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit quicker than doing the whole other way.
Yeah.
But before you that, rename it to spike ball settings and then move to its own file.
Okay, so and if I was doing this with other things, I'd be able to do that in a really quick way.
Yeah, but here's the really like fun part for me. So now that you've got that, if you pop back over to our spike ball script and just give it a public spike ball settings. So yeah, just public spike ball settings.
Uh-huh. Hey, Jester.
This is the part I really love. So if you go back now, save this.
Saved.
Now click the script in the hierarchy.
Click the script in the hierarchy?
Or sorry, in the project.
Oh,
view.
okay.
Spike ball. Now what you should notice is, again, this isn't instance yet. There is no such thing as a spike ball. There is a template for a spike ball. But even still, you can define bindings. And what I mean by that is if we now we have to create a spike ball. So go to before we do that, you're jumping ahead of me a little bit. Go to the data and make an instance of spike ball first, because you have to actually have an instance of that script now.
So create
Like default spike or easy spike for starting spike version or something. You may have to change the menu item header because it's probably under Ducky again.
one second. Michelle, 69 months. My goodness gracious. Michelle, thank you for 69 months of support. My God. All right, so what am I doing? Sorry.
Yeah, so in Spikeball, it needs the Spikeball settings.
Yeah, so
make
I
sure
can-
the header has a menu item for settings.
Oh,
You have to make one first. No, because again, that's a template. You have to make an instance of the actual thing, but you haven't got the menu item for it yet because the menu item is still Ducky menu.
yes.
So go.
So what am I doing? Sorry.
So go to the script called Spikeball settings.
Oops, wrong one. Okay. And I can change
So,
this to
so at the
Spikeball.
top, change the menu. Yeah, so it has a menu item for it.
Spikeball settings. Save that. Go back. Got it.
Come on.
Cool. So now you can make an instance of that in your
Hey.
data folder or here, just with
Goodness
like
gracious.
create,
54, 64 words.
and then call it like Easy Spike or Default Spike or something.
Happy Saturday.
Okay.
So now, yeah, now you can drag that into the script itself.
Can I do it that way? Nope, I gotta do it this way. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and now the benefit of all of that is now, if you made an empty game object and dropped Spikeball on it, it will automatically be connected to the default Spikeball settings that they all share. And so any change you make to Spikeball settings will modify every single default Spikeball out of the box.
Gotcha. Boy, okay. That's pretty rad. Okay.
And then if you did like later on, halfway up the chain, said, oh, this is an iced Spikeball, you would just make another right-click Spikeball settings, iced Spikeball, change whatever settings that would require for slippiness or something, and then in those instances, drop those ones in. And then as you can imagine, you could make prefabs with different setting configurations and then just drop those in different places.
Yeah, and that's sort of already have with the different colored pipes, for example. It's just not done in this way.
And then a layer on top of this, which we won't do here because that's probably enough, but just to note, you can have, if you call a method on that object, because all the other guys have a reference to it, you could have a event on it. So we have events in the other stuff. This is kind of how the player input thing originally worked that we were using, which is if you have a method with an event on that called duck settings changed, you could then have everyone, when they get a reference, subscribe to that. And so now, if anyone calls ducksettings.change, everyone who's got a reference to that gets updated and they can modify their values. It's less valuable for settings, but it's more valuable for things like, imagine doing the same process, but having a progress report scriptable object
Sure.
that is being used. One, it's used in the duck to like update numbers, but secondly, it's used in the UI to display the numbers, and then it can display the numbers as they change in real time. And then you could have a achievement system which doesn't need to know about duck or about UI, it just needs to know about the progress report. And then you could say progress report dot increased or changed, then if whatever, do Steam achievement. So now you've completely decoupled all three concepts with the single shared, what's called a mediator in between. So the benefit is more than just a prefab type approach. It's that you can reason about the difference between shared data from the objects themselves.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay.
This gets into like much deeper philosophy of design stuff, but the general way I like to phrase it is, if you imagine you're having a party with your friends, the way that works is you need to have some way of contacting each other to like connect to everybody. And so the amount of information required is you need at least, at a minimum, everyone to have phone numbers for each other. But if you want to go to a public event, there's a notice board that publishes an event, and anybody who wants to look at the notice board can see that information, but they don't need to know about you personally. So the amount of information required, the amount of hookups and connections and bindings is vastly lower. And so by having something like this, you're building effectively a notice board that other people can subscribe to without ever having to actually be involved in the process of changing the values or dates.
Gotcha. Huh.
So yeah, I use these for everything. I use these as like status of the player moving. I think I mentioned before I did a rhythm game where I used it as the song that's playing. And so every time I had rhythm beat events for stuff changing, it changed on the song. And so anybody who cared about the beat changing could subscribe to that object, and stuff would bounce or change, or UI would change color or whatever. And I could add new things that reacted to the beat without ever having to connect it to the player or the character or the timer or the music player or anything. They just know about song as a single entity.
Oh. Okay. Wow. All right. Boy.
Because you can see what I mean. Like if I have 50 different things and they all connect to song,
Yeah.
and one of them just reads the song values, another one reads the song tempo, another one reads the song amplitude, and then something else changes the song amplitude, well, then it doesn't actually matter. Those things don't actually need to know about each other.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I think I'll leave you with that. That's
Yeah,
two
so
whole
it's-
new big concepts.
yeah, so I'm gonna have to redo all that too. That's right. Excellent. Okay. Right on, dude. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, that's well, good luck with it. I'm honestly I'm surprised, despite as much as it seems, the input wasn't. It went easier than I thought it would.
Oh,
Changing
great.
to the input.
Yeah.
Normally,
We'll figure it
that's
out.
a bit
It was
more
just figuring out what to have held be, what to have pressed be.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, looking good. I'll leave you to it, and good luck with the dev.
All right, right on. Well, thank you very much, Jason. Everybody give Jason a hand. Yay. Man. Thank you for always coming in and being patient with me and hanging out and teaching everybody some stuff, Jason. I appreciate you. He's already left, but appreciate him all the same. All right. All right, so well, in that case, let us anyway, Chester, welcome on in. Dave and Quell, now that I don't have to worry about. Yeah, another masterclass, right? Gosh. I know he says that we're helping him too, but don't forget, Jason, on the 3D print. Actually, on the 3D print, I need to. My most recent 3D print just got done. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Actually, here. I'm going to watch that one there. All right. Oh, whoops. I clicked the wrong thing. You're supposed to see this. Butt receptacle. I can go through, print the next one. Oops. There we go. Ah, Wolfie, I've seen that. I've seen that one. All right. So with that, then let's let's undo all the spike ball stuff. Spike ball. Cannot undo it. Yeah, that's fine. All right. The really annoying box? Yeah. I've seen that one. All right, so we have...
It seems we have
Hey,
a
thank you for
new
the follow.
follower.
Do I have to make them public? Probably. Probably. Arrange. That contains a power screwdriver. That's excellent. So let's do 45 to 90. Tool tip. Some of these I'm gonna have to get the values from what they now are, so I don't fuck all that up. Guided damage still at 0.15. So then we're just gonna go through and make my scriptable object more scriptable. Tooltip. Jason, I don't know if you're still around, but do all these need to be public or not on the scriptable object? Basically all of these. I'm just going to add all these serialized ones. Can I make... I bet I can. If you want to exit the other script, they need to be... Yeah, okay. That's sort of my thought, but I wasn't sure. I bet I can make a header on this too. Much in the same way. All right, so same thing. Range. Flap strength is currently 30. Tooltip. For those times when the screws never seem to never end. That's amazing. I like it. I like
It
it.
seems we have a new follower.
Hey, thank you for the follow. Hope you're having a good night. All right, flap strength is 30. And then that's going to then be settings dot for all of these, and this is going to take a fair amount of time to redo. Yep. Max flap duration currently 1.5. Tooltip. This is going to be my solution would be to just replace. Yeah. And that's what we'll do momentarily. Max flap duration is 1.5. This is nice then, because this will then have all of those defaults baked in so that I can play with it. Because that's one of the things, when I've been playing with it, I've been literally like doing screen grabs of all of the settings. The only other useful thing is text area 3 creates a text field that has min-max and draws a box and not one line. What? The other really useful attribute is text area 3, 10. Creates a text field that has a min-max and draws a box. I don't. On the string. Oh, so it turns the string from one line input to a text box. Got it. I don't have any strings that I would play around with that, but that I could see being helpful. This is some high octane programming that we're doing tonight. There's also a min attribute if you want to don't want an upper bound. Oh, okay. Just wanted it to set a value to not be negative. I don't mind setting arbitrary upper bounds. I mean, I can change them later, right? If I need to. All right, tooltip. What am I making? Oh. Some of these were previously needing to be serialized, but I don't know if they need to be anymore. I'm going to keep it. I'll keep it. Just in case. In case I want to change things. Which could happen. I could have used this a long time ago. I always prefer the arbitrary upper bounds, but makes it nicer to play with in the editor. Yeah, that makes sense. Somebody remind me to do a fucking commit after this. Jesus. What is fall multiplier? Fall multiplier? I don't even know what this fucking value is. Oh, I know what it is. It's the change in gravity. How's the experience going so far with the first game? Today we're changing a bunch of stuff. So right this second, it's a little stressful. But generally very good. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. It's been an obsession. And I can stop whenever I want to. But I don't want to, so I'm not going to. Instead, I'm just going to spend 14 hours a day working on my game. Please and thank you. No, I'm really enjoying it a lot. And I'm learning so rapidly that I keep on having to sort of change and modify things. So right now I'm changing all my settings into a scriptable object, so that I can play more. Max fall velocity is 20. Oh, 1.4. I did not change these. 0.2 input lock time. 0.1 max lap duration 1.5.
It seems we have a new follower.
Hey, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. And we do this. I do gaming otherwise, but I've been making it so that every Sunday I've been doing some game dev, which has been fun. I think it's been fun. Whether or not the rest of the community finds it enjoyable to watch is another story. Hey, JD. Range 10 to 50. Sure. Tool tip. Something like that. Worst case scenario. Worst case scenario. We've learned more about how to do a revert. Whoa, what did I just do? All right. Also learning game dev, so it's fun to check out what others are doing on the streams. Right on. Yeah, you can check out the game that I'm working on. It's exclamation point Upduck. It is a platformer rage-like game. I call it rage-like because it doesn't. It's fair and it's meant to be fair. Y velocity buffer. Be damned if I remember what that is for too. Tip. Working on Godot for games and widgets to use on stream. Right on. That's awesome. We've got a fair amount of widgets on our side too. Not made by me. Not entirely made by me. Most of them made by Super. Super, the underdog. They are great. Just working with Game Maker Studio. This would probably be the easier way to go about it. Let's see, velocity at which so we've got max fall velocity, that was at 20. Y velocity buffer is at 10. Very good. And we also have horizontal push, which shouldn't be its own. Oh, I just have it as a public. Got it. That doesn't be that way. And we also have dead threshold, which is this one here. Sure. Tooltip. The question, how acquainted am I with my stream team? I think I played Siege with one of them earlier. Who, Jester? Are you talking about which stream team are you talking about? I've got like an official one technically and an unofficial one. technically. We're talking about 2.5. Plant Army? Yeah, Plant Army, I only know a few people. And honestly, barely participate in most of the things with Plant Army. And then there's the streamer friends, and that's like John Toast and all of them. I might do a different settings for the ground detection. Actually. Interesting. But who'd you play with? Just be playing? Nope. Don't know them. Don't know them. All right. So save. And then... Does this update or will I have to create a new one? I suspect that I have to create a new one. It does just straight update with all of it. That's neat. It's a gigantic... Do I have a dev background? Nah. I don't know what I'm doing at all. No, I've got a video editing background. Oh, I got you, Jester. Yeah. No, it's a huge team. It's literally hundreds of people. So now I'm able to tweak these a little bit easier. So we got default Ducky settings. Which means that now I can close this. Finished workout? Was that stressful that I thought that I was working out? Yes, end workout. Guys, I just thought that I was doing an outdoor walk. What pulled you to Unity instead of a different engine? Yeah. I was learning C# for StreamerBot, if you know StreamerBot. Streamer.bot. And I was learning that for I was learning. Sorry,
it seems we have
hey,
a
thank
new
you for the follow.
follower.
I was learning that for stream stuff, and then I found out that Unity uses C#, and I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, really? I know C#. Maybe I can make a game." And then I did a tutorial, and then I started working on this. So the tutorial project that I did is just, it's a Flappy Bird. But that's also on my HIO account if you wanted to check it out. Yeah, then I've been working on this since. All right, so everything's broke. So I can go through and manually type these out. How do I replace? H, Control H. That's how I replace. Control H. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Oh, because I did those already, am I going to have to now? Whatever. Fall multiplier. Control H. Decided to learn game dev around the time I got laid off, and it was also around the time of the whole Unity fiasco, so I went towards Godot. And that makes a lot of sense. Yep. Don't have a strong preference either way, but it's been working well for you. Right on. Have you been doing C# with Godot? Or have you been learning whatever they call it? G script? GD script? Something? All right, so then we've got max flap duration, Control H. That's gonna annoy me forever. Max flap duration. Settings, that max flap duration. Oops, it's also changing it in my, no, whatever, that's fine. Whoa, whoa. I'll only do it once. GD script, yeah. More of a web dev background, so the Python-like syntax of GD script felt right. Right on, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's only because I had already been learning C#. Oops. Oh, God. Did I do it more than once? Sure did. I feel like the F2 instead of doing it like this is a better choice. It's just for StreamerBot scripting? Yeah. God, I love StreamerBot. God, I love StreamerBot. Just tasty and delicious. And now if I have 2 and go like that. Oh, it doesn't like that. All right, fine. Dead threshold. Legendary Cerberus. That's exciting. Welcome on in. These ones that I know that are single loves, I'm just going to type them right in there. All right. Get back to PHP. I want a new Facebook on my desk by morning. And that's why you're going to build a new one. Excellent. Okay. Very good. Now I should save and everything should work just as it did. Without anything breaking. The name fit. Okay, just kidding. There's an error. Oh, I didn't go through. Okay. How about now? This is Unity. Hey, Bruce. How are you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Did you get anything cool on Friday? /cents? I feel like the movement is different. Maybe. Earbuds? Some new inner ears. Nice. If it were Godot, I'd feel obligated to derail the stream with discussions about PHP. Just Unity. Well, that's fucking fascinating. This is no longer jumping me all the way up to the top of this? We'll see if other things are weird. Upcoming RPG Maker is integrated into Unity instead of being its own thing. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I'm gonna wait. Go to state could not be found. That's interesting. Invalid layer index -1. Oh, because it's now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, but that's for the platforms themselves. Hold on. Just discovered a non-breaking bug, but a bug nonetheless. Hey, Truthfoot, how you doing? Good to see you. Okay, so hidden platform reveal seems to be fine. Not a hidden platform. Oh, so one of them does not have. Okay. No worries, JD. It's good to have you in here. Good to meet you. Maybe we'll see you next time. It's also saying index -1. I know what index -1. I'm not sure about that. Okay, so all those
It
were labeled.
seems we have a
Thank you
new
for the follow.
follower.
All those were labeled hidden platform reveal. Huh. And I don't know why. So we're just going to move on. Figure that out later. So this is another one where now that doesn't quite work as the same way. Did I change my jump value and not fucking realize it? I done changed my jump value.
It seems we have a new
Hey,
follower.
thank you for the follow. I'm able to get everywhere. Oops, I just punched my microphone and jostled the whole setup. All right, so
It seems we have a new
thank you for the
follower.
follows, guys. I appreciate you. Jump speed 17. Fudge buckets. And jostle you, Bruce. I wish you would. When the coding's so intense, you're just gonna punch the microphone. Exactly. See, Chester gets it. Something about the way that these interact now has made the jumpy bits way different. Because now it used to go up to all the way up to the top there, and now it just doesn't. It's just shy of it. But I didn't change any of that. So I don't know why it would change that. Okay. That's fine. All right, but generally everything else seems to work. With the exception that these are now exhibiting different behavior. Uh-huh. Yep, no idea why that would be. No idea why that would be. But look at the actual duck object. Oh, it's so short now. How exciting. Can I have a public variable? Maybe we word that. Can I have a variable be public and have it not fucking show up in the inspector? That's a question that I want to know. All right. We can go back here. And now keep working on what we initially set out to do today. Which is work on work on the angle hide-in inspector. Okay, well, you know what? I probably could have guessed that. Perfect. Perfect. This looks very well commented. Thank you. I like to do my my documentation, even though it's just me working on it. All right. So this is the new code that we're working on. Right now, it's not changing. It's not changing it based on if it's uphill or not.
It seems we have a
And I
new
kinda know how to do that.
follower.
Thank you for the follow. So now if he's on, oops. Now if he's on any kind of slope, the ducky moves slower. Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to work. Second commenting, you need to label everything. I love commenting and labeling things. I just like labeling things in general. Never mind like in code. Kind of don't know how to implement this. I might have to do find a tutorial or something. This should be a labeling game / simulator. A labeling simulator? I can get behind that. Actually, the labeling simulator is basically all that that one game was. What is it called? I gotta look at it now. Strange Horticulture. I just remembered it before you came up. Strange Horticulture is just labeling simulator. So this works, but I need to find out if he's but for pretty plants, exactly. Goddamn ads. Sorry, Bruce. I've got them on right now so that, and only so that pre-roll ads are off. That's why I have them. All right. Welcome back, Bruce. Sorry, I've got the ads on right now just to disable pre-roll ads. So it's kind of an experiment that I'm trying.
It seems we have
Thank
a
you
new
for the follow.
follower.
Well, I hate ads otherwise. It would be really neat if the entirety of the internet was not founded on ads. I'm trying to figure out if I want to, how I can implement this, and if I want to do that on stream or if I should work on something else. Trying to figure out how to make it so that I can figure out if I'm moving into the slope or against the slope. Butts. I think that I don't work on this right now. I think that I want to think about that some more and let that cook a little bit. Just going to comment it out for now. All right. Very good. Well, with that off the table, what do we got? Oh my gosh, it is time for me to end. It's just about time for me to end. I don't like that. That's unexpected. Be-doo-doo-doo-doo. Boy, that is unexpected. I don't. Well. Yeah, I got lost in the work. Yeah, right, Swifts, exactly. So I didn't look up and it'd be like, oh, it's midnight. Whoops. I haven't eaten dinner. Oops. Yep, sorry, Bruce. So I think we might actually call it there just a couple minutes early. Y'all, if this is your first time hanging out with us, thank you for hanging out with us. Maybe drop a follow. Like I said, we're going to be doing game dev on Sundays. Gaming the rest of the week. Yeah, I'm going to go eat. Whoops. Hey. There, we can call that. And call this. Thank you guys for hanging out, man. Appreciate you. Truly. Have a great start to your week. Have a good Cyber Monday. You guys are going to have to let me know what you get. Since I can't get anything. I'll have to vicariously live through you. So have a Monday that's the least Monday possible. Exactly, Nimble. Exactly. Nimble, hit me up about the dragons. We'll figure that out. Right on, y'all. Have a good night. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Bye. I'm going to get some food. Bruce, I love you too. Spoo, thank you for hanging out. Kato, dude, it was good to see you here. Wolfie, always good to see you. Nimble, appreciate you. Enika, Swifts, you guys know I appreciate you. Anybody else that's still bopping about out there?
Into the black